Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I'm going to be doing a kind of 2-for-1 book review. I'm going to be trying to compare, contrast, and review both The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary and People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. All right, so like I said, this is kind of something different that I wanted to try to do. It's not quite a wrap up, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with these books. And so I thought that I would do kind of a 2-for-1, if you will, book review for them, mainly because they have a lot in common. They're definitely different. They're completely different books, but they do have a lot in common. As I was writing kind of my notes as far as, you know, when I was thinking of the review that I wanted to write for them, I'm like, these have a lot of really common themes throughout them. And so I thought I would just kind of do a video kind of comparing the two of them and just kind of mentioning what they have in common and what they have different, all those things. Compare, contrast, all those fun things. So let's get into it. Let's start by talking about The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. So this is a second chance romance book. It follows the main characters, Addie and Dylan, who are exes. They have been separated for about 2 years, and that's really all you know. They are on their way to a mutual friend's wedding, and on the way, Dylan ends up rear-ending Addie in their cars, and they get in a car accident. It ends up totaling Dylan's car, and so him and his friend end up riding to the wedding with Addie and her sister and another companion, we'll say, another mutual friend of the bride's who had gotten a ride. So there's 5 of them. They're riding in a Mini Cooper. It's a very interesting journey, as you can imagine, and they're gonna go to this wedding. Addie and Dylan haven't spoken since they broke up almost 2 years ago, and so it's very awkward, very tense, just a very unfortunate circumstance. And that's kind of what you know, the premise that you know going into the book. This book is told in a lot of flashbacks. It flashes back to the very beginning of Addie and Dylan's relationship when they meet, and it explores the progress and the evolution of their relationship all the way leading up to their breakup and what happened along the way that got them there. And so you're kind of going back and forth between present day on their kind of journey to this wedding, as well as the flashbacks and their relationship progression. So that's the premise of The Road Trip. The present timeline is full of, you know, obstacles to overcome and just hijinks that kind of happen along the way, that sort of thing. It is set in England somewhere. I don't know the geography of the UK. It's set in the UK somewhere. I know that. And so that is The Road Trip. Now, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry is a novel that is a friends to lovers romance. And this follows Poppy and Alex, who became friends their freshman year of college, and very early on in their friendship decided that they were going to start vacationing together. And that is something that evolves throughout their entire friendship, and it's something that remains throughout their friendship. So over the course of 12 years, every summer they take a summer trip together. And what these trips are, you know, changes over time. At the very beginning, it's very, you know, low budget, very kind of off the cuff sort of stuff. And then as things progress and they get older and have careers, then things start becoming more elaborate. But really, this is a story of Poppy, who present day we know is kind of going through a quarter-life crisis, we'll say, and is just not really knowing what she wants to do. And she gets the advice to think about, when was the last time you were really truly happy? And she thinks about 2 years ago on her last vacation with Alex. All we know is something happened on this vacation, and Alex and Poppy haven't spoken in 2 years. So she decides she's going to contact Alex and see if he'd be up for going on a trip again. And that they end up doing that. in the course of that, they end up going to a wedding. Alex's brother is getting married. Alex's brother is getting married, and so they decide to go to the wedding. As you can imagine, after being best friends for so many years, they know each other's families. His brother knows Poppy really well and would love for her to come to the wedding, and so they go to the wedding. So here you can see we have our first commonality. We're both going to weddings, right? So this story is also told in flashbacks, going back to different summer vacation trips or summer trips that they have taken over the course of the year. So you get, 12 years ago was their first one, and then, 10 years ago, and 8 years ago, and, whatever, 7 years ago. And you see the progress of their friendship throughout these summer trips. They both date other people. How does that affect their friendship? How does their friendship affect their dating lives? All of that is thrown into this. They are both from a very small town in Ohio, and so they have that in common. And you can tell, they both have different priorities and different wants and dreams of their lives, and so that's something that affects their friendship as well. And so that is the story of Alex and Poppy, and just kind of what evolves from there. So as you can tell, these both have things in common. There's a wedding that both people are planning on attending. They are going to the wedding together. There's a 2-year gap in communication, about 2 years for the road trip, and then a definite 2-year in people we meet on vacation. And so those are some really common things that they have in common. I will say the other thing that I think that they have in common, and this kind of gets more into the writing and the themes of the book, is that there is a fantastic emphasis on mental health in both of these books. In both of the books, characters discuss going to therapy and working on themselves and how they have issues. And so specifically in People We Meet on Vacation, one of the things that I really appreciated about the book is that problems weren't resolved off the cuff and spontaneously. They were really thought about and processed, and the appropriate amount of time was taken to really think about and address issues before resolving them. They didn't, neither one of the characters just jumped in and did things. They really took the time to think about their actions and to think about their priorities and their motivations, and they were doing things for the right reasons. And I really appreciated that. The level of care and respect that the characters had for each other was just so amazing in People We Meet on Vacation. Because they were friends, because they had this long-standing friendship, you could tell how deeply they cared for each other, and I loved that so much. I loved, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but I was a huge fan of the ending of the book, and just the way that the ultimate, conflict was addressed. I just thought it was done so well. So, like I said though, one of the common themes in the books is the emphasis on mental health, and that's something that was also addressed in the road trip. Especially, we get into it, and Addie finds out that Dylan had been attending therapy to address some of the issues, and that, some of the other people that were influencing their relationship were also going to therapy. I will say that another thing that did happen in both of the books is that there was this 2-year time gap. You knew that something happened 2 years ago to cause them not to talk. So like for the road trip, you knew there was a breakup. You didn't know what happened, why they broke up. You just know they broke up. And with People Who Meet on Vacation, you knew that something happened 2 years ago, and they hadn't spoken in 2 years. And so there was this like kind of lingering mystery of what happened. And I will say, I do think that just within the writing, it worked better in People We Meet on Vacation versus the road trip. In the road trip, I found it almost annoying, the way that it was brought up and the way that it was circumvented, as far as not really addressing it, but just kind of talking around the issue instead of really addressing the issue until we got to the point where the author was ready to let us know what happened. I didn't feel it worked quite as well in the road trip as it did in People We Meet on Vacation. I thought that, with the flashbacks and stuff, it made more sense. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, with the road trip, I did find myself part of the way through the book just kind of getting annoyed with the constant mention of, oh, but you know, this happened, and then like cut scene, and we never really knew what happened until, like I said, you know, we do eventually find out. So that was something that I felt kind of worked better in one than the other. But other than that, I thought they were both really, really good books. The other thing I will say with the road trip is that I felt like some of the decision making by the characters didn't make a whole lot of sense. And that may be because it's, you know, a different country, a different culture. That may be totally something that I just didn't key in on. But some of the decisions that were made on not calling the police in certain situations, or just like letting things go or whatever, I was like, but why would you do that? It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Whereas I didn't find that happening as much in People We Meet on Vacation. I felt like the motivations and the reasoning why the characters were making decisions, the decisions that they made a lot more sense. So there's that. So for that reason, the road trip got 4 stars, and People We Meet on Vacation got 5 stars. But I really enjoyed both of them. I think they're both great summer reads. If you are into, you know, contemporary romance, even if you're not, I don't read a lot of romance. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is like steam factor. I will say that I think People Who Meet on Vacation has a slightly higher steam factor than the road trip, but really they were both pretty, very, very mild steam. There wasn't a whole lot, you know, in either one of them that I found. Like, I do not like steamy romances at all. It's just not something I enjoy. And that's fine, but I really enjoyed both of these. So take that for what it is. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today. I think I said everything that I wanted to say about both of these books. So if you have had the chance to read either or both of these, I would love to hear your comments about them. If you plan on reading them, I would love to hear that as well. And yeah, that's gonna do it. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.